Hi, to my Working Genius Fellowship. I'm excited to go deep on galvanizing. So today is the deep dive on the G. And I purposely wanted to go here from discernment, not just because I am a DG, so it sounds like I might be focusing in on me, but more because I feel that my observations broadly too are that activation piece in general, the DG, is the hardest for people to understand because we've never really talked about that. We've always talked about ideation and implementation, but activation of itself is something that while it's happened, it hasn't been quite so intentional. So that's why I'm starting in the middle and going straight to the G now. And I had the privilege of being able to preview the first chapter of what will be um, Patrick Lencioni's book on the Working Genius that will be coming out, I believe, at the end by the end of the year. And what was interesting was that the word that they played around before, or around describing a galvanizer before they had that word, was exhorting. And I'm actually, it's not a word I typically use, but when I looked it up and then the thesaurus of other words around that, it was also a connector, a persuader, and it reminded me kind of reflect back on my years of always being told that I should be in sales. I was like, ugh, I think I'm selling. I'm really not very good at it. But I do love that enrollment into an idea of why something's important and really activating it within people. In fact, when I have a detractor around something that I am passionate about, moving forward, I get a lot of joy out of that. I get joy out of the challenge of inviting somebody into that and the persuading, if you will, which could also be, annoying, if quite frankly, like any of our geniuses in excess. It can start to sound like you're like, that's where the pushy douchebag below the line comes from for a galvanizer, because we can get really excited and that might feel to somebody else like, oh, a little too much. There's a lot of energy in it. And, you know, we talk a lot about emotional intelligence, or we have over many years, and the role it plays. When it comes to a correlation here, a little bit with a galvanizer, I see there being a connection with having social awareness, because you're noticing others, and are they connected to it, and what is alive in them, and how can you invite them into it. There's a very high level of social awareness of this. Not everybody's engaged on this. Inclusivity, noticing its presence and its absence, is very much in there. And is also the relationship management part of emotional intelligence, where it's a galvanizer understands the importance of relationships and connection, and how much that fuels work and people to move forward. So there's a big part around that. And while a wanderer is always noticing problems or opportunities at that elevation, a galvanizer is always noticing connection. And is everybody connected? Is everything moving forward? They don't want to be the one to project manage something necessarily moving forward, unless they have a genius that moves it to there. It's more of the noticing of, ooh, do we have all the right stakeholders involved? Does everybody feel like they're included? Do they recognize that is it feel like it's happening to them or by them? A galvanizer wants it to be in that upper, above the line of it's happening by you, because they can sense the value that's going to bring to things. I also correlate this to somebody who might have a sense to what the system needs, because they've got that sort of a little bit higher elevation than when you're down into implementation, and you're still high enough to be able to wonder what's needed here to move things forward. So I think that's another part of what's innate for a galvanizer. And so what we get to, like, what if your galvanizing is a working frustration? How do I then work with that to make that, bring that level up? It's really to start to look at the value of connecting and what you're going to get out of it to move forward. It might not bring you joy to do that. My experience is a lot of people relate galvanizing to like politicking or selling. And so then there's a narrative there. And that further, amplifies that frustration. So I invite it to be about changing, like all things, being able to shift with galvanizing and be able to shift your narrative around what it is that you're doing. It's connecting. It's being able to ensure that the work is going to continue moving forward, but in a way that feels inclusive to everybody. So that's much different than politicking or selling when you think about it from that point of view. I'm going to be like I will with all of the other ones, giving a cheat sheet of some things that you can lean into to strengthen your galvanizing, whether or not it's your genius to be more intentional about it, or if it's your working frustration, how to strengthen it. So I'll be following up with that. But for now, that's my little deep dive on galvanizing. And next up, I'm actually going to continue just moving further into the workflow of implementation and go into E. So E will be the letter that will come up next for my deep dive. All right, thank you very much. Love it when you share your thoughts and ideas around this. So please continue to do so. Thank you very much. I'll